talking about the racial disparity in breast cancer among African American women. The existing problem isn't that white women are a little more at risk to developing breast cancer than black women. However, black women are more likely to die of breast cancer than white women. The death rate of black women has gone down by 23%, and white women have gone down by 42%, according to RITA 2018. The importance of this issue is to see why there is such a huge disparity in the diagnosis and along with the death rate and mortality of African American women compared to white women. The objective of this study is to analyze the progress that has been made to close this large disparity of breast cancer mortality rate. The study was being conducted in Chicago, then compared to 9 other cities with the largest black populations in the United States. They studied these groups from 1999 to 2013. The population that they are trying to find and analyze or generalize is that the comparison for Chicago and other predominantly black communities. They wanted to see if there was any reduction for the disparity of cancer in Chicago to the 9 other cities across the states. The 9 other cities that they used to analyze with Chicago were Baltimore, Dallas, Detroit, Houston, Los Angeles, Memphis, New York City, Philadelphia, and lastly, Washington, D.C. The type of study that they're conducting is a cohort study. They used the power calculations due to the fact that they were conducting a study over the span of 15 years. They also used a joint regression program, then stratified into the 2 time periods from 1999 to 2005 and 2006 to 2013, according to COH606 2017. The inclusion criteria was non-Hispanic white women and non-Hispanic black women. They excluded women who did not fit their criteria. They specifically focused on comparing African American women to Caucasian women in their study. Unfortunately, there was not a control group for this study due to the large population of the study that was being conducted. Here we have a chart that depicts breast cancer deaths per 100,000 in the year 2014. You see the blue line as the African American woman and the red line as white women. As of 2010, African American women have the largest breast cancer rate versus white women, and are more likely to die than white women, unfortunately. Like I mentioned earlier, there was no control group because they were specifically looking for the compromising element of African American and Caucasian and finding the disparity. and why African American women are dying more than white women. The type of statistical analyses that Sokoto et al. Used was direct standardization with an adjustment to the 2000 United States population census. Next, they start, um, next they standardized the population into two time periods, 1989 to 2005 and 2006 to 2013. The disparity was using non-Hispanic blacks and non-Hispanic white women with a relative risk of 95% for the two time periods. As a result, during the 1999 and 2013, non-Hispanic white women and non-Hispanic black females' breast cancer mortality rate decreased for the United States as a whole, though the annual percent change in the mortality declined more slowly for non-Hispanic black women compared to non-Hispanic white women. 7 of the 10 cities experienced a decline in non-Hispanic white women breast cancer mortality. 3 of the 10 cities experienced a significant drop in the non-Hispanic black breast cancer mortality: Chicago, New York City, and Philadelphia, while the other 7 cities experienced no statistical significant decline in non-Hispanic black cancer mortality rates: Baltimore, Dallas, Detroit, Houston, Los Angeles, Memphis, and Washington, D.C. In conclusion, there still is a huge disparity of non-Hispanic white women and non-Hispanic black women, along with the mortality rate. The reason that this is the best to deduce that it was social, um, economical standing on the local level as well. Um, Sihoto et al. Concludes that the northeast cities of New York City and Philadelphia have had among the fastest decline of non-Hispanic black women and non-Hispanic white women mortality rates, while the southern and western cities of Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, and Memphis have had the least progress in disparity reduction. Um, I do agree with their conclusion um, about how there is a disparity in the death rate of African American women of breast cancer. I think I feel that a major contributor to that is that education. When you're in a certain area, in certain parts of Detroit or Philadelphia, there's not a lot of opportunities to learn what could be going on with your body as a woman. Lack of education, lack of um, resources to learn about what's going on. So I do agree that um, this this was a good study to have and a good platform to open up a discussion for these predominantly black areas to get properly educated on breast screenings. To answer the question if there was any bias observed in the study, I didn't feel that there was any bias in the study because the numbers were there. It didn't feel like Sig Hoto and her colleagues were favoring one side versus the other, or, um, in a lack of a better word, damning one side or the other. They were pretty much saying, these are the statistics, this is what's going on in these communities, and what is the reason why that African American women are dying at such a high rate when white women are more likely to have breast cancer than African American women. According to Rita, in 2017, um, she stated that in her article that African American women are more likely to develop a more aggressive breast cancer, and coupled with the fact that we're more likely to African American women are more likely to die of breast cancer than white women, it's kind of a double-edged sword, so to speak. Um, to answer question 11, was there anything that they didn't consider which may have impacted their findings? I think they did a very good job of executing and targeting major Black communities, um, to see why these numbers were so high compared to their counterparts. With that being said, thank you for your time. And I'm Shalise Randolph, and this is my presentation of the disparity of breast cancer patient mortality rates of African American women versus the Caucasian women.